Hey guys, tonight we slip into ancient Rome's whimsical theater, where you're handed a flickering oil lamp and invited to a wild show justice served with snakes, costumes, and a dash of chaos. What strange crime could land you in this peculiar spotlight? Rome's punishments aren't just rules, they're performances, crafted to dazzle and nudge a city into line. You might rethink fare after this odd journey. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Quick hit that button now to join our global crew uncovering Rome's weirdest justice tales. And drop a comment with which bizarre punishment you dodge, like a sack of snakes or a topsy-turvy cross. It's a hoot to see your picks. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're in Rome's Forum, sunlight glinting on marble, vendors hawking figs, their chatter weaving with a distant cheer from a crowd. Justice here isn't dusty scrolls, it's a lively stage, with Romans gathering to watch the city's strangest penalties unfold. Your guide is a tiny oil lamp, its warm glow dancing like a shy performer. This lamp's more than light, it's a spark of memory, a nod to those who faced Rome's odd rules with a grin. It'll shine brighter as you wander, so hold it close. It's your pass to this whimsical tale. Rome's laws, formalized by the 12 tables around 450 BCE, craved order with a theatrical flourish. Sneak a neighbor's grapes, pay a fine, stir up trouble, expect a dramatic exit. Emperors like Nero made punishments sparkle, turning justice into a citywide spectacle. A quirky tidbit. Some penalties inspired Roman mime performances. Imagine a playwright chuckling as an actor mimics a criminal facing a lion with exaggerated flair. Historians still argue whether these shows aim to scare or entertain, a puzzle you ponder as your lamp casts a cozy glow. You amble past a temple where incense curls like a gentle breeze. Rome's punishments were stories, not mere wrist slaps, played out in bustling squares. Picture the Vestal virgins, priestesses who tend Vesta's sacred flame with unwavering devotion. Break their chastity vow, and you're tucked into a small underground chamber with a loaf of bread and a lamp like yours, quite the dramatic pause. Or take the penalty of the sack, where a parasite is bundled into a bag with a dog, snake, monkey, and rooster, then rolled into a river. It's like a rowdy animal parade with a watery finale. Here's a chuckle if Rome had a yelp for punishments. The sack would score bold, but too many claws. Your lamp flickers, as if amused by the silliness. Rome had other tricks. Chatterboxes who crossed lines might lose their stage, their voices hushed. Others had their statues toppled, names erased from records. Your lamp, a soft beacon, glows for those quiet rebels, cheering their spunk. You drift toward the Colosseum, its arches rising like a giant's crown. Here, justice was a blockbuster, criminals in myth, inspired costumes, facing lions to the crowd's cheers. A fringe fact, some shows used hidden trapdoors to make the drama leap, like a circus with extra sparkle. Your lamp's light sways on the sandy stage, where applause once echoed. Was this a courtroom or a theater festival? Scholars can't settle it, but you sense Rome's knack for turning rules into an uproar. Your lamp's glow steadies, painting warm shadows as you stroll. Early punishments were simple nudge a troublemaker off the Tarpeian rock. Job done. But later, Rome got fancy crosses spun upside down, wooden benches that turned sitting into a comedy sketch. Each was a scene in Rome's grand show, mixing awe with a wink to behave. Here's a jab. Rome's justice was less rulebook, more blockbuster script. By a gurgling fountain, your lamp's reflection dances like a tiny star. It pulses with the cheek of a Vestal who teased. Does Caesar think I charmed Jupiter Rome loved a spectacle, knowing quiet penalties faded fast? Odd ones lingered, like a tune stuck in your head. Your lamp, once a bashful flicker, now shines with a playful spark, eager for more. One last laugh if Rome had Netflix. It'd stream punishment party drama overload. Your lamp, now a cheery guide, leads you from the forum's buzz, the city's quirks humming like a bedtime tale. What's next? A pause in a chamber, a dip with animals, or a flipped-over cross your lights ready to reveal Rome's next act, if you're up for it. You wander deeper into Rome's bustling streets, your trusty oil lamp casting a warm, steady glow. No longer the shy flicker it was in the forum's hum. Its light sways over cobblestones, guiding you to a quiet temple where Vesta's sacred flame burns, tended by priestesses whose lives are Rome's spiritual heartbeat. These are the Vestal virgins, women chosen to guard the goddess's fire, their purity a shield for the city's soul. But step out of line, and you face a fate so strange it feels like a myth buried alive in a small underground chamber, with only a loaf of bread and a lamp like yours for company. Why such a peculiar punishment for these revered women? Your lamp, pulsing with the cheek of that Vestal who quipped about charming Jupiter, urges you to uncover the story behind this grim stage act. Picture yourself at the edge of a sacred precinct, the Temple of Vesta, glowing softly under moonlight. The Vestals, hand-picked as girls before puberty, swear 30 years of chastity, their lives devoted to keeping Vesta's flame alight. This fire isn't just a cozy hearth, it's Rome's lifeline, believed to protect the city from divine wrath. A Vestal's vow is no small thing. Her purity symbolizes Rome's stability. By the Republic's height, around 200 BCE, 6 Vestals served at a time, living in a grand house near the Forum, draped in white robes, their hair bound in intricate braids. They're celebrities of sorts, with perks like front row seats at chariot races and the power to pardon a condemned prisoner with a word. But the catch, one slip, one whisper of romance, and Rome's mercy vanishes faster than a senator's promise. Here's a chuckle if Vestals had a job listing. It'd read, "Great benefits, but don't date or else your lamp flickers," as if giggling at the irony. Breaking chastity isn't just a scandal, it's a cosmic offense, like unplugging Rome's divine Wi-Fi. The gods, Romans believed, demanded bloodless punishment to avoid further anger. So execution by sword is out. Instead, they craft a loophole burial alive. You're led to a small chamber, the Campus Sceleratus, just outside the city walls. A Vestal accused of unchastity, say, caught with a lover, is paraded through the streets, her white robes now a mark of shame. She's lowered into a vault with a bed, a lamp, a jug of water, and a crust of bread, barely enough to last a day. The entrance is sealed, and Rome walks away, hands clean, gods appeased. You pause, your lamp's glow catching the dust motes, swirling like tiny ghosts. The chamber's not a tomb in the usual sense, it's a stage for a slow, silent exit. The bread and water aren't kindness, they're a nod to ritual, ensuring the Vestal isn't starved outright, just left to fade. A quirky tidbit, some chambers had air vents, hinting Rome wanted the gods to decide her fate, not the executioner. Historians still argue whether this was about divine justice or public shaming, a debate that lingers as you imagine her lamp, much like yours, flickering in the dark. You step closer, peering into the imagined vault. The accused Vestal might be innocent. False charges weren't rare, especially under paranoid emperors like Domitian. One famous case, Cornelia, in 91 CE, swore her purity, shouting, "Does Caesar think I've romanced a god a callback to that sassy quip your lamp carries?" Her words didn't save her. She was sealed underground anyway. The man involved, he's whipped in public, a quicker fate, but no less brutal. Rome's double standard stings, Vestals bear the divine weight, while their lovers get off with a public lashing. Here's a jab. Rome's HR manual for Vestals would be titled Obey or Be Buried. Your lamp's light steadies, as if nodding at the absurdity. Why burial? It's symbolic. Vesta's flame is eternal, so a Vestal sin must be buried, hidden from the god's gaze. The bloodless method keeps the city's hands clean, but the spectacle parading her to the pit ensures the crowd remembers. You feel the weight of the stones sealing the chamber. Your lamp a quiet protest against the silence. The Vestals' lives were rigid. No marriage, no freedom, just duty. Yet their power was real, freeing prisoners, advising senators, guarding Rome's soul. One misstep, though, and that power turned to dust. You linger by the temple, the flames glow mirroring your lamps. The Vestals' punishment wasn't common, maybe 10 cases over centuries, but each was a citywide drama. Records from Plutarch note only a handful of burials, suggesting accusations were rare but explosive. Another quirky fact, some Vestals, post-service, married, defying the stigma of their 30-year vow. Your lamp seems to flicker with their defiance, its light a bridge to their forgotten voices. Scholars debate if the punishment was more about controlling women than pleasing gods, a question that hums as you trace the temple's edge. You move on, the forum's noise fading behind you. The Vestal's fate feels like a play within Rome's grand theater, a warning to all, even the sacred aren't spared. Your lamp, now a bolder spark, carries their stories, its glow a quiet rebellion against Rome's rules. Here's a final laugh. If Vestals had a union, they'd strike for better exit clauses, no bread, just freedom. The punishment's oddity, burial with a lamp, a loaf, a whisper of hope makes it linger, like a strange bedtime tale. Your lamp's light, once timid, now dances with purpose, ready to guide you deeper. What lies ahead, a chaotic sack of animals or a cross turned upside down, your lamp's glow promises to light the way, if you dare to follow. You drift from Vesta's temple, your oil lamp's glow now a lively spark, no longer the bashful flicker it was in Rome's forum or the steady guide by the sacred flame. Its light dances over the city's edge, leading you to a murky riverbank where a crowd buzzes with whispers and gasps. Here, Rome stages one of its wildest punishments, the poena culi, or penalty of the sack, reserved for those who commit the unthinkable parricide, killing a parent. You're handed an imaginary leather sack, bulging with a dog, snake, monkey, and rooster, ready to be tossed into the Tiber. Why such a chaotic, animal-filled fate for this crime? Your lamp, still pulsing with the cheek of that Vestal who quipped about charming Jupiter, flickers eagerly, urging you to unravel this bizarre act in Rome's theater of justice. Picture yourself by the Tiber's muddy banks, the water glinting under a hazy sun. Parricide isn't just a crime in Rome, it's a stab at the family, the core of society's order. By the late Republic, around 100 BCE, Rome's laws, built on the 12 tables, treated killing a parent as a betrayal of sacred bonds, worse than theft or treason. The punishment? You're tied up, maybe given a moment to regret your choices, then sewn into a large leather sack with 4 animals, a dog for loyalty you broke, a snake for deceit, a monkey for chaos, and a rooster to crow your doom. The sack, heavy with squawking, hissing, and barking, is hurled into the river, sinking in a frenzy of panic. It's less a death sentence and more a splashy morality play, staged for all to see. Here's a chuckle. If Rome had a punishment menu, the sack would be labeled Chaos Combo, Riverview. Your lamp flickers, as if tickled by the absurdity. The animals aren't random, they're symbols, each a piece of Rome's message. Dogs, loyal to family, shame your betrayal. Snakes, slithering with guile, mirror your deceit. Monkeys, wild and unpredictable, reflect the disorder you've caused. Roosters, crowing at dawn, might signal justice's arrival or just add to the racket. A quirky tidbit, some sacks were so heavy they sank instantly. But records hint at lighter ones that bobbed briefly, letting the crowd savor the spectacle. Historians still argue whether the animals were chosen for symbolism or just to make the punishment unforgettable. A question that hums as you watch the river ripple. You step closer to the bank, the crowd's murmurs buzzing like summer bees. The condemned, maybe a son who struck his father, stands pale, hands bound. The executioners, stone-faced, stitch the sack around him, the animals squirming inside. You imagine the chaos within paws scratching, fangs hissing, feathers flapping. It's not just about sinking. It's a public lesson, a warning that family bonds are sacred. The sack hits the water with a splash, and the crowd holds its breath, some cheering, others wincing. Your lamp's glow catches the ripples, a quiet nod to the Vestals chamber, where silence was the punishment. Here, it's noise, chaos, a circus of justice. Here's a jab. Rome's idea of family values came with a side of snakes and a swim. The penalty wasn't common. Parricide was rare, maybe a handful of cases per century, but when it happened, Rome went all out. Sources like Cicero mention its use under emperors like Augustus, who loved a good show. The man's fate is quicker than a Vestal's slow fade, but no less dramatic. While she was buried to hide her sin, you're tossed into the Tiber to wash yours away, the animals ensuring no one forgets. Your lamp, gleaming with that Vestal's defiance, seems to flicker in solidarity with the condemned, a spark against Rome's rules. You linger by the river, the crowd's chatter fading as the sack vanishes beneath the waves. Why animals? Rome's obsession with symbolism runs deep. Family was the foundation, and breaking it demanded a punishment that screamed disorder. The sack wasn't just a death, it was a story, told in barks and hisses, etched into the crowd's memory. Unlike the Vestal's quiet chamber, this punishment is loud, messy, a spectacle that ripples through Rome's streets. Your lamp's light steadies, as if memorizing the scene, its glow a bridge to those lost in the Tiber's depths. The penalty's rarity adds to its legend. Legal texts suggest it was revived under theatrical emperors, like Nero, who'd probably applaud the drama. A fringe fact, some accounts claim the sack was paraded through the city first, like a grim festival float, heightening the public's awe. You picture the crowd trailing it, half horrified, half mesmerized, as the animals wailed. Scholars debate if this was about punishing the crime or staging a cultural sermon, a puzzle that lingers as your lamp casts shadows on the water. The Tiber flows on, carrying Rome's message, betray the family, and you're erased in a flurry of fur and feathers. You step back, the river's hum blending with the city's pulse. The sack's chaos feels like a twisted cousin to the Vestal's silent vault, both punishments playing to Rome's love of spectacle. Your lamp, now a bold beacon, carries the condemned's fleeting defiance, its light a quiet cheer for their lost voices. Here's a final laugh. If Rome had a reality show for punishments, the sack would win most dramatic exit. The Poena Cully's oddity animals, river, chaos makes it stick, like a strange bedtime tale you can't unhear. Your lamp, no longer timid, dances with purpose, ready for Rome's next act. What's waiting across flipped upside down, or a march to doom? Your lamp's glow will light the way, if you're ready to follow. You slip away from the Tiber's rippling chaos, your oil lamp's glow now a bold beacon, no longer the timid spark of the Forum, the steady guide by Vesta's flame, or the lively flicker amid the sack's animal frenzy. Its light sways across a dusty hill, guiding you to a grim stage where Rome's signature punishment, Crucifixion, takes a bizarre twist, upside-down crucifixion, reserved for those the state wants to utterly humble. You're handed an imaginary cross, tilted head down toward the earth, the crowd's jeers echoing. How's this topsy-turvy death worse than the usual upright agony? Your lamp still carrying the cheek of that Vestal who quipped about charming Jupiter. Pulses brightly, urging you to uncover this strange act in Rome's theater of justice. Picture yourself on a windswept hill, the Gemonian stairs looming nearby, where Rome's executions draw gawking crowds. Crucifixion, by the 1st century CE, is Rome's go-to for rebels, traitors, and slaves, a slow, public warning etched into the empire's edges. But flipping the cross upside down, that's reserved for special cases, like those who defy Rome's core with extra defiance. You're strapped to the wood, head dangling toward the dirt, blood rushing to your skull, breath a shallow gasp. The crowd, a mix of soldiers and passers-by, watches as you dangle, a living lesson in humility. It's not just pain, it's a spectacle, turning death into a head-spinning show. Here's a chuckle if Rome had a crucifixion. Yelp, upside down, would get 5 stars for dizzying drama. Your lamp flickers, as if amused by the absurdity. Regular crucifixion is brutal nails through wrists. Hours of suffocation, but inverted adds a cruel twist. Blood pools in your head, making every heartbeat thud like a drum. Breathing's harder, muscles strain unnaturally, and the world spins in a disorienting blur. A quirky tidbit: some sources claim the inverted cross was angled slightly, not fully vertical, to prolong the ordeal for the crowd's gaze. Historians still argue whether this was about extra suffering or pure humiliation, a puzzle that hums as your lamp casts shadows on the splintered wood. You sway on the cross, the crowd's murmurs blending with the wind's whistle. The most famous case, Saint Peter, one of Jesus' apostles, faced this fate around 64 CE under Nero. Tradition says he requested it, saying, "I'm not worthy to die like my Lord." Rome, ever practical, shrugged and flipped the cross. Why not his choice turned a punishment into a symbol of humility, later twisted by modern tales into something spookier. Your lamp's glow catches the cross's grain, a nod to the Vestals' quick defiance in the face of Rome's rules. Unlike the sack's chaotic splash, this death is slow, deliberate, a quiet inversion of honor. Here's a jab Rome's executioners must have loved the extra cardio from flipping crosses. The inverted crucifixion wasn't common, maybe a dozen cases in Rome's records, but each was a statement. Rebels or traitors, like those in Spartacus's revolt, might face it to show Rome's power over defiance. The upright cross kills through exhaustion, upside down adds disorientation, making every moment a foggy nightmare. You feel the wood creak, your lamp's light a steady anchor, its glow a quiet cheer for those who faced this fate with grit. Rome's message is clear: cross us, and we'll turn your world upside down, literally. You linger on the hill, the crowd's chatter fading as the sun dips low. The inverted cross isn't just about death, it's about rewriting status. Where the Vestals' chamber hid her sin and the sack's animals screamed disorder, this punishment puts you on display, head down, dignity flipped. Legal texts from the digests suggest it was used sparingly, often for slaves or foreigners, to maximize shame. A fringe fact: some crosses were propped on low scaffolds, letting kids toss pebbles at the dangling condemned talk about audience participation. Your lamp's light dances, as if carrying Peter's resolve, a spark against Rome's spectacle. The punishment's mechanics are grim but calculated. Upright crucifixion crushes lungs over hours. Inverted shifts the strain, flooding your head, twisting muscles into knots. You imagine the condemned, eyes blurry, crowd a distant roar. Scholars debate if Rome cared more about the physical pain or the symbolic flip, humbling the proud in front of all. Your lamp, now a radiant guide, seems to glow for those who endured, its light a bridge to their silent strength. The hill's dust swirls, and you feel Rome's knack for turning justice into art, each nail a brushstroke in its grim masterpiece. You step back, the city's hum softening in the dusk. The inverted cross feels like a twisted cousin to the sack's wild parade. both staging chaos to keep Rome's order. Your lamp, bolder with each act, carries the condemned's fleeting defiance, a quiet nod to their lost voices. Here's a final laugh if Rome had a punishment. Oscars? Upside-down Crucifixion would win Best Visual Twist. Its oddity, head down. World Flipped lingers like a bedtime tale you can't shake. Your lamp, now a steady beacon, dances with purpose, ready for Rome's next scene. What's next, a march where comrades turn deadly or a neck-pronging trap? Your lamp's glow will guide you, if you're game to follow. You wander from the windswept hill, your oil lamp's glow now a radiant guide, no longer the timid spark of the Forum, the steady beacon by Vesta's flame, the lively flicker amid the sack's chaos, or the bold light on the inverted cross. Its light dances across a dusty plain, leading you to a Roman military camp where soldiers stand in tense rows, faces pale under their helmets. Here, Rome unleashes a punishment that chills even its toughest legion's decimation, a brutal lottery where 1 in 10 soldiers is chosen to die by their comrades' hands. You're handed an imaginary lot, a stone that could seal your fate. Will you survive this grim game of chance? Your lamp, still carrying the cheek of that Vestal who quipped about charming Jupiter, pulses with defiance, urging you to unravel this twisted act in Rome's theater of discipline. Picture yourself in a sprawling camp, the air thick with the scent of leather and smoke, circa 71 BCE during the Spartacus slave revolt. Decimation, a relic of Rome's early days, is revived for units that show cowardice, desert, or mutiny. The Republic's military code, rooted in discipline, demands loyalty above all, and decimation is its harshest lesson. You stand among the legion, heart pounding, as the commander orders every 10th man marked. You draw a stone from a sack smooth for survival, jagged for doom. If you're the unlucky one, your comrades, the same ones you shared bread with last night, must club you down with stones or sticks. It's not just death, it's betrayal, staged for the camp to see. Here's a chuckle if Rome had a team-building retreat. Decimation would be the worst icebreaker ever. Your lamp flickers, as if wincing at the grim irony. The process is cold, the unit lines up, lots are drawn, and the chosen face a brutal end. The surviving 9 don't get a pat on the back. They're punished too, eating barley instead of wheat and camping outside the fort's safety. A quirky tidbit, some commanders mixed up the lots, using colored stones to confuse the men, heightening the dread. Historians still argue whether decimation built discipline or just shattered morale, a puzzle that lingers as your lamp casts shadows on the soldiers' grim faces. You stand in the ranks, the wind carrying the clink of armor. One famous case, under Crassus during the Spartacus revolt, saw a disgraced unit decimated to restore order. After a crushing defeat, Crassus ordered lots drawn, and the unlucky 10th were beaten by their brothers in arms. You imagine the scene, friends, turning foes. Stones raised, the camp silent but for the thud of blows. Your lamp's glow catches the dust, a nod to the Vestals' quip, defiance shining even in this brutal act. Unlike the inverted cross's public shame, decimation is internal, a wound within the legion, meant to scar the survivors as much as the fallen. Here's a jab. Rome's version of "we're all in this together" meant someone's not making it out. Decimation was rare, maybe a dozen times across Rome's history, but its shadow loomed large. Polybius, a historian, notes it was used sparingly, only for the worst failures, like fleeing battle. The punishment's genius is its psychology. You fear your comrades as much as the enemy, ensuring no one runs again. Your lamp's light steadies, as if saluting the soldier's grim resolve, a spark for those caught in Rome's harsh code. The camp's tension is palpable, the survivors' eyes haunted, knowing they've just turned on their own. You linger by the camp, the fires crackle mingling with distant shouts. Decimation isn't just about death, it's about control, forcing loyalty through fear. where the Sax animals scream chaos and the cross flip dignity. Decimation breaks bonds, turning comrades into executioners. Legal texts suggest it was a last resort, used when morale collapsed. A fringe fact, some units sang war chants during the act, masking the screams, adding a grim rhythm to the chaos. Your lamp's glow dances, carrying the soldier's silent strength, a beacon against Rome's discipline. The punishment's mechanics are stark. You draw your lot, heart racing, knowing 1 in 10 won't see dawn. The blows come fast. No mercy, as comrades prove their loyalty to Rome over friendship. Scholars debate if decimation forged iron discipline or bred resentment, a question that hums as you watch the camp's fires fade. Your lamp, now a steadfast guide, glows for those who faced the lottery, its light a bridge to their fleeting courage. The plain stretches dark and quiet, Rome's harsh lesson etched into its dust. You step away, the camp's tension fading into the night. Decimation feels like a twisted cousin to the cross's spectacle, both punishing defiance with brutal theater. Your lamp, radiant with each act, carries the condemned's quiet grit, a nod to their lost voices. Here's a final laugh if Rome had a military handbook. Decimation would be under motivation. Extreme edition, its oddity friends as foes, chance as judge, lingers like a bedtime tale you can't shake. Your lamp, now a bold beacon, dances with purpose, ready for Rome's next scene. What's waiting a neck-pronging trap or a cliffside plunge? Your lamp's glow will guide you, if you're ready to follow. You drift from the military camp's fading fires. Your oil lamp's glow now a steadfast guide, no longer the timid spark of the forum, the steady beacon by Vesta's flame, the lively flicker amid the Sax chaos, the bold light on the inverted cross, or the radiant guide through Decimation's grim lottery. Its light sways over Rome's quiet streets, leading you to a shadowed square where a lone figure stands, neck pinned by a strange metal device. This is the Fork of Heretics, a subtle punishment for those who dare speak against Rome's gods or emperors. You're handed an imaginary fork, its prongs grazing your chin and chest, forcing you to stand frozen. Can you stay still under this cruel contraption? Your lamp still carrying the cheek of that Vestal who quipped about charming Jupiter, pulses softly, urging you to uncover this hushed act in Rome's theater of silence. Picture yourself in a dim square, circa 300 CE, in the late Roman Empire, where whispers of Christian defiance mingle with pagan chants. The Fork of Heretics, a late invention, targets blasphemers, heretics, or anyone who irks a grumpy official. You're strapped into a metal rod with 2 prongs, one nudging under your chin, the other pressing your chest designed to lock your head in place. Twitch, and the prongs poke painfully. Stay still, and your muscles scream from the strain. It's not about blood or spectacle like the Sax splashy chaos. It's about control, silencing your words with a slow, aching stillness. The crowd watches, some jeering, others hushed, as you stand like a statue, Rome's lesson carved into your trembling frame. Here's a chuckle if Rome had a torture shop. The fork would be sold as silent starter. Batteries not needed, your lamp flickers, as if giggling at the absurdity. The fork's brilliance is its simplicity. No blades, no fire, just a metal nudge to enforce obedience. Some forks bear inscriptions like, "I renounce my sin," turning your ordeal into a public apology. A quirky tidbit, some prongs were sharpened just enough to prick if you nodded off, ensuring you stayed awake. Historians still argue whether the fork aimed to correct souls or just humiliate dissenters. A puzzle that hums as your lamp casts a cozy glow on the square's cobblestones. You stand rigid, the fork's prongs a constant whisper to hold still. Early Christians, refusing to honor pagan gods, often faced this penalty, their silence a badge of faith. You feel the weight of their resolve, neck aching, eyes fixed on a distant star. Your lamp's light catches the metal's sheen, a nod to the Vestals' quick defiance glowing through this quiet torment. Unlike Decimation's brutal lottery or the cross's dizzying flip, the fork is subtle, a punishment that traps your thoughts as much as your body. Rome's message is clear, speak out, and you'll be stuck standing, wishing for a nap. Here's a jab. Rome's free speech policy came with a neck-ache guarantee. The fork wasn't meant to kill most endured, though sore, but it was rare. Used under emperors like Diocletian during religious crackdowns. Sources like Eusebius note its use against Christians, though pagans and loudmouths faced it too. The punishment's power is mental. You're caged in your own body, unable to whisper or glance away. Your lamp's glow steadies, as if cheering the heretic's grit, a spark for those who stood firm. The square's silence is heavy, broken only by your careful breaths. You linger in the square, the crowd's murmurs softening as dusk falls. The fork's cruelty lies in its restraint where the sack screamed chaos and decimation broke bonds. This device demands stillness, punishing your voice without a drop of blood. The Codex Theodosianus hints it was a late empire tool, tied to rising religious tensions. A fringe fact, some forks had tiny bells, jingling with each tremble, turning your struggle into a faint, mocking tune. Your lamp's light dances, carrying the heretic's quiet strength, a beacon against Rome's rules. The fork's mechanics are stark but clever. You stand, prongs pressing, for hours, maybe days, muscles begging for relief. Every twitch risks a jab, every breath a choice to stay still. Scholars debate if this was about breaking spirits or just enforcing silence, a question that lingers as you feel the fork's bite. Your lamp, now a glowing ally, shines for those who endured, its light a bridge to their unspoken courage. The square stones gleam faintly, Rome's knack for turning punishment into art etched into every prong. You step back, the city's hum fading into the night. The fork feels like a hushed cousin to Decimation's loud betrayal, both wielding fear to keep order. Your lamp, radiant with each act, carries the condemned silent defiance, a nod to their lost voices. Here's a final laugh. If Rome had a punishment app, the fork would be rated top pick for quiet time. Its oddity prongs, stillness. Silence lingers like a bedtime tale you can't unhear. Your lamp, now a steady ally, dances with purpose, ready for Rome's next scene. What's waiting, a cliffside plunge or a beastly arena? Show your lamp's glow will guide you if you're ready to follow. You glide from the silent square, your oil lamp's glow now a steady ally. No longer the timid spark of the forum, the beacon by Vesta's flame, the flicker amid the sack's chaos, the light on the inverted cross, the guide through Decimation's lottery, or the ally against the heretic's fork. Its light dances over Rome's Capitoline hill, leading you to a jagged cliff's edge, the Tarpeian rock, where traitors meet a swift, dramatic end. You're handed an imaginary push, teetering over an 80-foot drop, the crowd below buzzing with anticipation. Why's this Rome's favorite drop? Your lamp, still carrying the cheek of that Vestal who quipped about charming Jupiter, pulses brightly, urging you to uncover this plunging act in Rome's theater of betrayal. Picture yourself atop the Tarpeian rock, circa 200 BCE, in the heart of the Republic, the forum's hum just a stone's throw away. Named for Tarpeia, a girl who betrayed Rome to the Sabines for promised gold only to be crushed by their shields. This cliff is Rome's go-to for traitors, corrupt officials, and false witnesses. You stand at the edge, wind whipping your tunic, as guards prepare to nudge you off. No swords, no trials, just a quick shove and gravity's judgment. The crowd below cheers, market stalls pausing to watch you plummet, a public lesson in loyalty etched into the city's stones. Here's a chuckle. If Rome had a travel guide, the Tarpeian rock would be best view. worst landing your lamp flickers, as if amused by the irony. The punishment's simplicity is its power, no elaborate setup like the Sax Animal Parade, just a cliff and a crowd. You're stripped, paraded, then pushed. The fall both punishment and spectacle. A quirky tidbit, some victims were tossed at dusk, their silhouettes against the sky adding drama for onlookers. Historians still argue whether the rock was about justice or just crowd-pleasing theater, a puzzle that hums as your lamp casts shadows on the cliff's jagged edge. You teeter at the brink, the city sprawling below like a patchwork quilt. The rock's victims, traitors like Tarpeian or scheming senators, face a final moment of dread before the plunge. You imagine their hearts racing, the crowd's roars a distant hum. Your lamp's glow catches the cliff's rough face, a nod to the Vestals' quipped defiance even in this swift fall. Unlike the Fork's slow strain or Decimation's grim lottery, the Tarpeian rock is instant, a one-act play that ends with a thud. Rome's message is clear: betray us, and you're erased from the city's heights. Here's a jab. Rome's unfriend button was a cliff with no undo option. The punishment wasn't daily, maybe a few times a year, but each drop was a city-wide event. Livy's histories note cases like Spurious Cassius in 485 BCE, pushed for plotting tyranny. The rock's proximity to the temple of Jupiter adds a twist. You fall under the god's gaze, your betrayal both human and divine. Your lamp's light steadies, as if saluting the fallen's fleeting courage, a spark against Rome's wrath. The crowd's cheers echo, a reminder that justice here is as much theater as law. You linger at the cliff's edge, the wind carrying the forum's chatter. The Tarpeian rock's power lies in its visibility, where the Fork silenced quietly. This punishment shouts from the hilltop. Legal texts suggest it was used through the early empire, fading as flashier penalties like the arena took over. A fringe fact: some victims were pelted with stones mid-fall, the crowd joining in like a grim festival game. Your lamp's glow dances, carrying the traitors' lost voices, a beacon against Rome's rules. The mechanics are stark: a push, a fall, a sudden stop. You feel the rush of air, the crowd's eyes locked on your descent. Scholars debate if the rock was about swift justice or public catharsis, a question that lingers as you peer over the edge. Your lamp, now a gleaming ally, shines for those who faced the plunge, its light a bridge to their brief defiance. The cliff's shadow looms, Rome's knack for turning punishment into art carved into its stones. You step back, the city's hum softening in the dusk. The Tarpeian rock feels like a bold cousin to the Fork's hushed restraint, both wielding fear to keep order. Your lamp, radiant with each act, carries the condemned's quiet grit, a nod to their lost voices. Here's a final laugh: if Rome had a punishment playlist, the rock would be drop it like it's hot. It's oddity, a cliffside shove. A crowd's cheer lingers like a bedtime tale you can't unhear. Your lamp, now a steadfast beacon, dances with purpose, ready for Rome's next scene. What's waiting: a beastly arena show or a noble exit? Your lamp's glow will guide you, if you're ready to follow. You slip from the Tarpeian rock's windswept edge, your oil lamp's glow now a steadfast beacon. No longer the timid spark of the Forum, the guide by Vesta's flame, the flicker amid the Sax chaos, the light on the inverted cross, the ally through Decimation's lottery, or the beacon against the Heretic's Fork. Its light dances across Rome's roaring Colosseum, where a crowd of thousands cheers under a blazing sun. Here, you face damnatio ad bestias, condemnation to beasts, where criminals are tossed into the arena with lions, dressed as myths for a bloody show. You're handed an imaginary costume, a flimsy Orpheus tunic, as a lion's roar shakes the air. How's this a morality play? Your lamp, still carrying the cheek of that Vestal who quipped about charming Jupiter, pulses brightly, urging you to uncover this wild act in Rome's theater of spectacle. Picture yourself in the Colosseum, circa 80 CE, its stone arches towering like a giant's crown. This punishment, a favorite under emperors like Titus, targets criminals, traitors, and Christians who defy Rome's gods. You're shoved onto the sandy arena, dressed as Orpheus or Prometheus. Your costume a mockery of ancient tales. Lions, leopards, or bears, starved for days. Charge from trapdoors, their growls drowning the crowd's cheers. It's not just death, it's a staged drama, blending justice, religion, and entertainment. The crowd, munching on figs, watches you dodge claws. Rome's lesson in obedience roaring louder than the beasts. Here's a chuckle if Rome had a Colosseum yelp. This show would get 5 stars for roars, 0 for survival. Your lamp flickers as if amused by the absurdity. The setup is deliberate costumes make you a character in a myth, like Orpheus failing to charm beasts. A quirky tidbit, some victims were given fake weapons, wooden swords, or nets to heighten the drama, with no real chance of winning. Historians still argue whether this was about punishing crime or preaching Rome's power. A puzzle that hums as your lamp casts shadows on the blood-dusted sand. You stand in the arena, heart racing, the lion's eyes glinting with hunger. Early Christians, refusing to sacrifice to pagan gods, often faced this fate, their deaths a public warning. You imagine dodging a leap, your costume tearing, the crowd roaring like a storm. Your lamp's glow catches the sand's glint, a nod to the Vestals' quip defiance shining even in this chaos. Unlike the Tarpeian rock's swift drop or the fork's quiet strain, this punishment is loud, visceral, a spectacle that grips every spectator. Rome's message is clear: defy us, and you'll star in a deadly play. Here's a jab: Rome's idea of a matinee was less popcorn, more pause. The punishment wasn't daily, but frequent under showy emperors like Nero, who staged these as propaganda. Martyr accounts, like those from Tertullian, describe Christians dressed as mythological figures, their deaths twisted into moral tales. You feel the arena's heat, your lamp's light a steady anchor, its glow cheering the condemned's fleeting courage. The crowd's cheers are deafening, a reminder that justice here is Rome's loudest performance. You linger in the Colosseum, the crowd's roars fading as dust settles. The beast's attack isn't just punishment, it's theater, where every claw swipe sells Rome's power, where the fork silenced thought and the rock erased traitors. Damnatio ad bestias dazzles, turning death into a story. Records from Suetonius note emperors rigging shows with trapdoors and prods to keep beasts lively. A fringe fact: some arenas had musicians, their tunes clashing with roars, adding surreal flair. Your lamp's light dances, carrying the martyr's quiet strength, a beacon against Rome's spectacle. The mechanics are brutal but calculated. You're thrown in, unarmed or with useless props, facing beasts trained to kill. The fight, if you can call it that, is over fast, the crowd's cheers sealing your fate. Scholars debate if this was about justice or crowd control, a question that lingers as you feel the arena's heat. Your lamp, now a radiant ally, shines for those who faced the claws, its light a bridge to their lost voices. The Colosseum's arches loom, Rome's knack for turning punishment into art, roaring in every growl. You step back, the arena's din softening into dusk. This beastly show feels like a loud cousin to the rock's swift plunge, both gripping crowds to keep order. Your lamp, bold with each act, carries the condemned's grit, a nod to their silenced defiance. Here's a final laugh: if Rome had a box office, this show would be sold-out lions and drama. Its oddity costumes, beasts, cheers lingers like a bedtime tale you can't unhear. Your lamp, now a gleaming beacon, dances with purpose, ready for Rome's next scene. What's waiting, a noble exit or a painful seat? Your lamp's glow will guide you. if you're ready to follow. You slip from the Colosseum's roaring chaos. Your oil lamp's glow now a gleaming beacon, no longer the timid spark of the Forum, the guide by Vesta's flame, the flicker amid the sack's frenzy, the light on the inverted cross, the ally through Decimation's lottery, the beacon against the Heretic's fork, or the ally atop the Tarpeian rock. Its light dances over Rome's quiet streets, leading you to a dimly lit chamber where a senator stands, scroll in hand, ordered to end his own life. This is forced suicide, Rome's honorable exit for disgraced elites. You're handed an imaginary blade, its edge glinting with a grim choice. Is this noble or cruel, your lamp, still carrying the cheek of that Vestal who quipped about charming Jupiter? Pulses softly, urging you to uncover this hushed act in Rome's theater of dignity. Picture yourself in a marble-lined room, circa 65 CE, under Nero's reign, where whispers of plots and betrayals fill the air. Forced suicide is Rome's way of dealing with high-profile offenders, senators, nobles, or anyone too connected to be tossed to lions. You're a disgraced elite, maybe accused of plotting against the emperor. A messenger delivers a scroll. Take the honorable path by sunset. It's not a suggestion you end your life, or Rome does it messily. You choose a warm bath, a blade to the wrist, maybe a final speech for drama. Your family keeps its wealth, your name untarnished, a quiet deal wrapped in blood. Here's a chuckle if Rome had a severance package. It'd include a blade and a deadline. Your lamp flickers, as if smirking at the irony. The process is steeped in Roman values, honor, control, stoicism. Unlike the Colosseum's beastly spectacle, this punishment is private, almost polite. A quirky tidbit, some nobles wrote poetry as they bled out, turning death into a literary event. Historians still argue whether forced suicide was a mercy or a cruel illusion of choice, a puzzle that hums as your lamp casts a cozy glow on the chamber's walls. You stand by the bath, the water steaming, blade in hand. Seneca the Younger, accused in 65 CE of conspiring against Nero, faced this fate. He slit his wrists, then ankles, his words calm despite the pain. A stoic to the end. You imagine his resolve, the room silent but for water's drip. Your lamp's glow catches the blade's edge, a nod to the Vestals' quip defiance in this quiet exit. Unlike the Tarpeian rock's public plunge or the arena's roars, this punishment is intimate, a final act of control. Rome's message is clear fall from grace, and you write your own ending or else. Here's a jab. Rome's idea of retirement was a bath with no return ticket. The punishment wasn't common, maybe a few dozen cases under the empire, but each was a hushed scandal. Tacitus's annals detail Seneca's death, noting his family's spared honor. The blade's cut is quick, but the choice weighs heavy: die nobly, or face public shame. Your lamp's light steadies, as if cheering Seneca's grit, a spark for those who faced Rome's deal. The chamber's stillness is heavy, broken only by your imagined breath. You linger in the room, the air thick with the scent of oils. Forced suicide's power lies in its paradox: freedom to die, but no real choice. Where the arena dazzled crowds and the rock shouted betrayal, this punishment whispers duty. Legal texts suggest it was reserved for elites, a nod to their status. A fringe fact some victims invited friends to watch, turning death into a staged farewell. Your lamp's glow dances, carrying the noble's quiet strength, a beacon against Rome's rules. The mechanics are stark but deliberate. You sit, blade ready, choosing veins for a swift end. The bath's warmth masks the pain, but the weight of Rome's eyes lingers. Scholars debate if this was about preserving honor or enforcing control. A question that hums as you feel the blade's chill. Your lamp, now a radiant ally, shines for those who chose their exit, its light a bridge to their silent courage. The chamber's walls gleam. Rome's knack for turning punishment into art etched into every drop. You step back, the city's hum fading into the night. Forced suicide feels like a hushed cousin to the arena's loud chaos, both wielding fear to keep order. Your lamp, bold with each act, carries the condemned's grit, a nod to their lost voices. Here's a final laugh if Rome had a career counselor. Forced suicide would be exit strategy 101. Its oddity choice in death, cloaked in honor, lingers like a bedtime tale you can't unhear. Your lamp, now a steady beacon, dances with purpose, ready for Rome's next scene. Can you endure a seat that bites or a mark that never fades? Your lamp's glow will guide you, if you're ready to follow. You drift from the marble chamber's hushed stillness. Your oil lamp's glow now a radiant ally, no longer the timid spark of the forum, the beacon by Vesta's flame, the flicker amid the sack's frenzy, the light on the inverted cross, the ally through Decimation's lottery, the beacon against the Heretic's fork, the ally atop the Tarpeian rock, or the guide through the noble's quiet exit. Its light sways over Rome's crowded square, leading you to a jeering mob where a thief straddles a sharp wooden beam. This is the wooden donkey, a punishment that turns sitting into agony. You're handed an imaginary seat, its jagged edge biting as you perch. How's sitting now a crime? Your lamp, still carrying the cheek of that Vestal who quipped about charming Jupiter, pulses brightly, urging you to uncover this painful act in Rome's theater of shame. Picture yourself in a bustling market, circa 100 BCE, where vendors hawk olives and the air hums with gossip. The wooden donkey, a narrow A-frame with a razor-sharp peak, targets thieves, rebellious slaves, or soldiers who break ranks. You're forced to straddle it, your weight pressing onto the edge, legs dangling, maybe with weights tied to your ankles for extra bite. No blood, just raw pain. As the crowd laughs and points, it's not always fatal, but it's a public lesson, turning a simple act sitting into a humiliating ordeal. Rome borrowed this from older Middle Eastern tortures, but they added their flair, making it a street-side show. Here's a chuckle if Rome had a furniture store, the donkey would be painful perch. No refunds. Your lamp flickers as if wincing at the irony. The device's cruelty is its simplicity, no beasts or blades, just a beam that bites. A quirky tidbit some donkeys had spikes added, just to keep things spicy. Historians still argue whether this was about punishment or public shaming, a puzzle that hums as your lamp casts a cozy glow on the square's cobblestones. You perch on the beam, the crowd's jeers stinging as much as the wood. Every shift sends a jolt, your muscles screaming to stand, but ropes hold you fast. You imagine a thief caught stealing grain, now a spectacle for market-goers. Your lamp's glow catches the beam's splintered edge, a nod to the Vestal's quipped defiance even in this absurd pain. Unlike the noble's quiet blade or the arena's roars, the donkey is loud in its humiliation, a comedy of errors for the crowd. Rome's message is clear steel, and you'll wish you'd stuck to window shopping. Here's a jab. Rome's idea of take a seat was a lesson in regret. The donkey wasn't common, maybe used sparingly in markets or camps, but each case drew a crowd. Sources like Apuleius hint at its use for slaves and petty criminals, a cheap way to make a point. The pain lingers, but the shame cuts deeper, as kids toss taunts like stones. Your lamp's light steadies, as if cheering the victim's grit, a spark for those who endured Rome's cruel chair. The square's laughter echoes, a reminder that justice here is a public roast. You linger in the market, the crowd's chatter fading as dusk settles. The donkey's power lies in its absurdity, where the noble's blade offered dignity. This punishment mocks it. Legal texts suggest it was a disciplinary tool, especially in provinces. A fringe fact, some donkeys were heated, adding a fiery twist to the ordeal. Your lamp's glow dances, carrying the victim's quiet strength, a beacon against Rome's rules. The mechanics are stark but clever. You straddle the beam, its edge digging in, weights pulling you down. Hours pass, each moment a test of endurance. The crowd's eyes your real punishment. Scholars debate if this was about pain or social control, a question that lingers as you feel the beam's bite. Your lamp, now a glowing ally, shines for those who sat through the shame, its light a bridge to their silent courage. The square's stones gleam, Rome's knack for turning punishment into art, carved into every splinter. You step back, the city's hum softening into the night. The donkey feels like a mocking cousin to the noble's hushed exit, both wielding shame to keep order. Your lamp, bold with each act, carries the condemned's grit, a nod to their lost voices. Here's a final laugh if Rome had a punishment game show. The donkey would be sit and suffer crowd's choice. Its oddity sitting as torture, laughter as judge lingers like a bedtime tale you can't unhear. Your lamp, now a radiant beacon, dances with purpose, ready for Rome's next scene. Will a burning mark scar your face forever? Your lamp's glow will guide you, if you're ready to follow. You glide from the market's jeering din, your oil lamp's glow now a radiant beacon, no longer the timid spark of the forum, the guide by Vesta's flame, the flicker amid the sack's frenzy, the light on the inverted cross, the ally through Decimation's lottery, the beacon against the Heretic's fork, the ally atop the Tarpeian rock, the guide through the noble's quiet exit, or the beacon over the donkey's cruel seat. Its light dances over Rome's dusty streets, leading you to a crowded forum where a thief stands, a hot iron poised to mark his face. This is branding, Rome's permanent badge of shame for criminals. You're handed an imaginary iron, its heat grazing your cheek. What's it like to be branded your lamp, still carrying the cheek of that Vestal who quipped about charming Jupiter, pulses brightly, urging you to uncover this searing act in Rome's theater of disgrace. Picture yourself in the Forum, circa 200 BCE, where vendors shout and the air hums with judgment. Branding targets thieves, runaway slaves, or repeat offenders. Scorching letters like F for fur thief or FUG for fugitivus, escapee onto their forehead or cheek. You stand, hands bound, as the iron sizzles, marking you as a walking warning. No death, just lifelong shame, as every glance in the market screams your crime. Rome's genius is its visibility, unlike the donkey's temporary pain. This mark is forever, a public lesson etched into your skin. Here's a chuckle if Rome had a tattoo parlor. Branding would be shame special. No fading your lamp flickers, as if wincing at the irony. The iron's heat is quick but brutal, pressed with a blacksmith's precision. A quirky tidbit, some tried to hide brands with makeup, only to face harsher marks if caught. Historians still argue whether branding was about justice or social control, a puzzle that hums as your lamp casts a cozy glow on the forum's stones. You stand before the crowd, the irons burn stinging as jeers echo. A thief caught pilfering bread now carries an F that bars him from work or trust. You imagine the pain, not just from the burn, but from every stare. Your lamp's glow catches the mark's scar, a nod to the Vestal's quip defiance even in this lasting shame. Unlike the donkey's public roast or the noble's private blade, branding is a quiet wound, its power in permanence. Rome's message is clear steel, and your face tells the tale forever. Here's a jab. Rome's idea of a mugshot was a hot iron and no retakes. Branding wasn't daily, but common enough for slaves and petty criminals. As Livy's histories suggest, the mark's shame outlasts the pain, turning you into a walking caution. Some tried cutting or tattooing over brands, but Rome punished tampering with worse. Your lamp's light steadies, as if cheering the branded's grit, a spark for those who lived with Rome's scar. The forum's chatter buzzes, a reminder that justice here is a public brand. You linger in the forum, the crowd stares fading as dusk settles. Branding's power lies in its permanence, where the donkey mocked and the noble chose. This punishment labels you for life. Legal texts like the 12 Tables hint at its early use, refined under the Empire. A fringe fact Emperor Constantine later banned facial branding, favoring hands or legs for mercy. Your lamp's glow dances, carrying the branded's quiet strength, a beacon against Rome's rules. The mechanics are stark but clever. You're held still, the iron pressed for seconds, leaving a letter that scars forever. The pain fades, but the mark shapes every step you take. Scholars debate if this was about deterrence or exclusion, a question that lingers as you feel the iron's heat. Your lamp, now a glowing ally, shines for those who wore the mark, its light a bridge to their silent courage. The forum's stones gleam, Rome's knack for turning punishment into art burned into every scar. You step back, the city's hum softening into the night. Branding feels like a lasting cousin to the donkey's fleeting shame, both wielding disgrace to keep order. Your lamp, bold with each act, carries the condemned's grit, a nod to their lost voices. Here's a final laugh if Rome had a criminal registry. Branding would be Scar App lifetime subscription. Its oddity, a mark that speaks louder than words, lingers like a bedtime tale you can't unhear. Your lamp, now a radiant beacon, dances with purpose, ready for Rome's next scene. Can you bear a silenced tongue's quiet pain? Your lamp's light will lead you, if you dare to step forward. You slip from the forum's judging buzz, your oil lamp's glow now a glowing ally, no longer the timid spark by the forum's stalls, the beacon by Vesta's flame, the flicker amid the sack's frenzy, the light on the inverted cross, the ally through Decimation's lottery, the beacon against the Heretic's fork, the ally atop the Tarpeian rock, the guide through the noble's quiet exit, the beacon over the donkey's cruel seat, or the ally by the branding iron's sear. Its light dances over Rome's shadowed alleys, leading you to a grim tribunal where a blasphemer stands, mouth clamped by a soldier's grip. This is tongue removal, Rome's punishment for dangerous words. You're handed an imaginary clamp, its cold metal poised to silence you. How's speech now, a crime your lamp, still carrying the cheek of that Vestal who quipped about charming Jupiter, pulses softly, urging you to uncover this hushed act in Rome's theater of silence. Picture yourself in a torch-lit hall, circa 100 CE, where Rome's emperors guard their power and gods jealously. Tongue removal targets those who mock the gods, slander the emperor, or stir rebellion with words. You're held fast, a soldier's forceps gripping your tongue, a quick slice or tug leaving you mute. No bloodbath, just a stark act that strips your voice, turning speech into a forbidden act. The crowd, gathered outside, murmurs as you're paraded, a silent warning to watch your words. Rome's genius is its precision, unlike the branding's lasting scar. This punishment cuts your voice forever. Here's a chuckle if Rome had a speech class. This would be Lesson 1, Keep Quiet. Your lamp flickers, as if wincing at the irony. The punishment's cruelty lies in its focus, no elaborate arena show, just a clamp and a cut. A quirky tidbit, some victims were forced to hold their severed tongue aloft, a grim prop for the crowd. Historians still argue whether this was about divine protection or political control, a puzzle that hums as your lamp casts a cozy glow on the hall's stone walls. You stand in the tribunal, the clamp's chill biting as the crowd's whispers sting. Early Christians, preaching against pagan gods, often faced this fate, their silence a forced surrender. You imagine the pain, not just from the cut, but from the loss of words, your voice stolen. Your lamp's glow catches the soldier's blade, a nod to the Vestal's quipped defiance, even in this muted agony. Unlike branding's public mark or the donkey's jeering pain, tongue removal is intimate, a punishment that locks your thoughts inside. Rome's message is clear: speak wrong, and you'll never speak again. Here's a jab: Rome's free speech came with a one-strike mute button. The punishment was rare, maybe a handful of cases under emperors like Trajan, but each was a stark lesson. Sources like Tertullian note its use against Christians, though pagans and rebels faced it too. The silence lingers, your inability to protest a heavier chain than any iron. Your lamp's light steadies, as if cheering the silenced grit, a spark for those who lost their voice to Rome's blade. The hall's shadows deepen, a reminder that justice here is a quiet theft. You linger in the tribunal, the crowd's murmurs fading as torches dim. Tongue removal's power lies in its erasure where branding marked the face. This punishment erases speech itself. Legal texts like the digests hint at its use in religious crackdowns. A fringe fact: some victims were shown their tongues post-cut, a cruel taunt to seal their fate. Your lamp's glow dances, carrying the silenced's quiet strength, a beacon against Rome's rules. The mechanics are stark, but brutal. You're pinned. The clamp grips, and a swift cut leaves you voiceless. The pain sharp, but the silence sharper. Scholars debate if this was about protecting the gods or silencing dissent, a question that lingers as you feel the clamp's weight. Your lamp, now a radiant ally, shines for those who endured, its light a bridge to their muted courage. The hall's stones gleam, Rome's knack for turning punishment into art, carved into every silenced breath. You step back, the city's hum softening into the night. Tongue removal feels like a hushed cousin to branding's visible shame, both wielding fear to keep order. Your lamp, bold with each act, carries the condemned's grit, a nod to their lost voices. Here's a final laugh: if Rome had a debate club, tongue removal would be membership revoked. Its oddity, silencing words with a single cut, lingers like a bedtime tale you can't unhear. Your lamp, now a steady ally, dances with purpose, ready for Rome's next scene. Will your bones become art in a spinning wheel of pain? Your lamp's light will lead you, if you dare to step forward. You drift from the tribunal's grim silence, your oil lamp's glow now a steady ally, no longer the timid spark of the forum, the beacon by Vesta's flame, the flicker amid the sack's frenzy, the light on the inverted cross, the ally through Decimation's lottery, the beacon against the Heretic's fork, the ally atop the Tarpeian rock, the guide through the noble's quiet exit, the beacon over the donkey's cruel seat, the ally by the branding iron's sear, or the ally in the silenced tongue's shadow. Its light dances over Rome's dusty outskirts, leading you to a grim scaffold where a criminal is bound to a wooden wheel. This is the breaking wheel, a punishment that turns bones into art. You're handed an imaginary iron bar, poised to shatter limbs. Is this art or horror, your lamp, still carrying the cheek of that Vestal who quipped about charming Jupiter, pulses brightly, urging you to uncover this brutal act in Rome's theater of pain? Picture yourself on a barren hill, circa 100 CE, where a crowd gathers under a gray sky. The breaking wheel, used for murderers, traitors, or highway robbers, is Rome's grim canvas. You're tied to a large wheel, arms and legs spread like a star, as an executioner swings a heavy bar. Your bones snap, one by one, the pain sharp but calculated to keep you alive for the crowd's gaze. The wheel is then hoisted or spun, your broken form woven through its spokes. A grotesque display. It's not just death, it's a public sculpture, Rome's lesson in fear crafted in shattered limbs. Here's a chuckle: if Rome had an art gallery, the wheel would be exhibit. Out your lamp flickers, as if wincing at the irony. The punishment's cruelty lies in its precision, no random blows, just targeted breaks to maximize suffering. A quirky tidbit: some wheels were decorated with carvings, turning the grim device into a twisted masterpiece. Historians still argue whether this was about justice or terrifying spectacle. a puzzle that hums as your lamp casts a cozy glow on the scaffold's wood. You lie bound on the wheel, the bar's first strike jarring your bones. The crowd watches, some gasping, others cheering, as your form twists unnaturally. You imagine a murderer caught on the road, now a broken figure for all to see. Your lamp's glow catches the wheel's splinters, a nod to the Vestals' quipped defiance, even in this crushing pain. Unlike tongue removal's silent cut or branding's lasting mark, the wheel is loud, visceral, a performance that shocks. Rome's message is clear: commit vile crimes, and you'll be reshaped into a warning. Here's a jab: Rome's idea of spin class was a one-way ticket to agony. The wheel wasn't common reserved for heinous crimes, but each use drew crowds. As Seneca's writings note, the punishment's power is its display. You're not just killed. You're transformed, left to linger as a lesson. Your lamp's light steadies, as if cheering the victim's grit, a spark for those who faced Rome's brutal art. The crowd's murmurs echo, a reminder that justice here is a public horror show. You linger by the scaffold, the crowd's chatter fading as dusk falls. The wheel's terror lies in its artistry, where tongue removal's silenced. This punishment sculpts pain for all to see. Legal texts like the digests suggest it was used sparingly, often in provinces. A fringe fact: some wheels were left spinning gently, the victim's groans adding a grim rhythm. Your lamp's glow dances, carrying the broken's quiet strength, a beacon against Rome's rules. The mechanics are stark but deliberate. You're bound. The bar strikes, bones crack, and the wheel is raised. Your body a twisted exhibit. Mercy, if it comes, is a final blow, after days. Scholars debate if this was about punishment or public fear, a question that lingers as you feel the wheel's weight. Your lamp, now a radiant ally, shines for those who endured, its light a bridge to their shattered courage. The scaffold's shadow looms, Rome's knack for turning punishment into art, carved into every broken bone. You step back, the city's hum softening into the night. The wheel feels like a brutal cousin to tongue removal's quiet cut, both wielding fear to keep order. Your lamp, bold with each act, carries the condemned's grit, a nod to their lost voices. Here's a final laugh: if Rome had a sculptor's guild, the wheel would win most dramatic break. Its oddity bones as art, pain as display, lingers like a bedtime tale you can't unhear. Your lamp, now a steady ally, dances with purpose, ready for Rome's next scene. Can you choke on a cloud of searing ash? Your lamp's light will lead you if you dare to step forward. You glide from the scaffold's grim shadow, your oil lamp's glow now a radiant ally. No longer the timid spark of the forum, the beacon by Vesta's flame, the flicker amid the sack's frenzy, the light on the inverted cross, the ally through Decimation's lottery, the beacon against the Heretic's fork, the ally atop the Tarpeian rock, the guide through the noble's quiet exit, the beacon over the donkey's cruel seat, the ally by the branding iron sear, the ally in the silenced tongue's shadow, or the ally amid the wheel's broken bones. Its light dances over Rome's desolate outskirts, leading you to a pit where a figure kneels, neck-deep in earth, facing a funnel of hot ash. This is Execution by Hot Ash, Nero's rare and cruel invention. You're handed an imaginary funnel, its heat stinging your lips. Why this dusty death? Your lamp, still carrying the cheek of that Vestal who quipped about charming Jupiter, pulses softly, urging you to uncover this chilling act in Rome's theater of torment. Picture yourself on a barren plain, circa 65 CE, under Nero's reign, where the air hums with fear and imperial whim. Hot ash execution, a punishment so rare it's barely whispered, targets those Nero wishes to erase quietly but cruelly. You're buried to your neck, a funnel fixed to your mouth, as glowing ash pours in, searing your throat, clogging your lungs. It's not a quick end, no blades or beasts, but a slow, suffocating burn. your breath turning to fire. The crowd, small and hushed, watches from a distance, the ash's gray veil hiding the horror. Rome's genius is its subtlety. Unlike the wheel's brutal art, this is death disguised as dust. Here's a chuckle if Rome had a punishment menu. Hot ash would be silent sizzle, no refunds. Your lamp flickers as if wincing at the irony. The punishment's cruelty lies in its quiet horror, no blood, just ash that chokes from within. A quirky tidbit, some ashes were mixed with sand to prolong the torment, sticking to the throat like a grim paste. Historians still argue whether this was about personal vengeance or poetic justice, a puzzle that hums as your lamp casts a cozy glow on the pit's edge. You kneel in the earth, the funnel's heat burning as ash trickles in. You imagine an enemy of Nero, perhaps a rival poet, targeted for his sharp tongue, now silenced by dust. Your lamp's glow catches the ash's faint shimmer, a nod to the Vestals' quipped defiance, even in this stifling end. Unlike the wheel's loud snaps or tongue removal's mute cut, hot ash is silent, a punishment that whispers death. Rome's message is clear, cross Nero, and you'll choke on his quiet wrath. Here's a jab. Rome's idea of light punishment was a lungful of burning dust. This execution was rare, maybe a handful of cases, noted in Suetonius's accounts of Nero's cruelty. The ash's heat sears without flame, a private torment for Nero's chosen foes. Your lamp's light steadies, as if cheering the victim's grit, a spark for those who faced Rome's dusty doom. The crowd's hushed gasps echo, a reminder that justice here is a silent, searing art. You linger by the pit, the plain stillness heavy as dusk falls. Hot ash's power lies in its invisibility where the wheel sculpted pain. This punishment hides it in a gray cloud. Legal texts barely mention it, suggesting it was Nero's personal flourish. A fringe fact, some victims were given water first, a cruel tease before the ashes burn. Your lamp's glow dances, carrying the choked's quiet strength, a beacon against Rome's rules. The mechanics are stark but sinister. You're buried, the funnel fixed, ash pouring slowly, each grain a fiery sting. Breathing becomes a battle, the crowd a distant blur. Scholars debate whether this was about humiliation or obliteration, a question that lingers as you feel the ash's heat. Your lamp, now a glowing ally, shines for those who endured, its light a bridge to their silenced courage. The pit's earth looms, Rome's knack for turning punishment into art buried in every grain. You step back, the city's hum softening into the night. Hot ash feels like a hushed cousin to the wheel's brutal display, both wielding fear to keep order. Your lamp, bold with each act, carries the condemned's grit, a nod to their lost voices. Here's a final laugh if Rome had a torture cookbook. Hot ash would be recipe for silent suffering. Its oddity death by dust, pain unseen, lingers like a bedtime tale you can't unhear. Your lamp, now a steady ally, dances with purpose, ready for Rome's next scene. Will your memory be erased from history's page? Your lamp's light will lead you, if you dare to step forward. You slip from the pit's dusty veil. Your oil lamp's glow, now a steady ally, no longer the timid spark of the forum, the beacon by Vesta's flame, the flicker amid the sack's frenzy, the light on the inverted cross, the ally through Decimation's lottery, the beacon against the Heretic's fork, the ally atop the Tarpeian rock, the guide through the noble's quiet exit, the beacon over the donkey's cruel seat, the ally by the branding iron's sear, the ally in the silenced tongue's shadow, the ally amid the wheel's broken bones, or the ally through the ash's searing cloud. Its light dances over Rome's silent stones, leading you to a toppled statue, its face chiseled away. This is Damnatio Memoriae, Rome's ultimate punishment erasing a person from history. You're handed an imaginary chisel, poised to strike your own name. Can Rome truly forget you? Your lamp still carrying the cheek of that Vestal who quipped about charming Jupiter, pulses brightly, urging you to uncover this final act in Rome's theater of oblivion. Picture yourself in a quiet forum, circa 211 CE under Caracalla's reign, where statues lie broken and inscriptions are scratched out. Damnatio memoriae, condemnation of memory, targets disgraced emperors, generals, or senators, those Rome wants to wipe from existence. Your statues are smashed, your name erased from records, your legacy reassigned. No blood, no pain, just silence, as if you never were. The crowd, once cheering your deeds, now ignores your ghost. Rome's genius is its erasure, unlike the ash's hidden burn. This punishment rewrites history itself, a lesson in power etched into vanished names. Here's a chuckle if Rome had a delete key. This would be Control-Alt-Gone. Your lamp flickers, as if amused by the irony. The process is meticulous. Stonecutters chip away busts, scribes scrub scrolls, coins are melted down. A quirky tidbit, some erasures left faint outlines like ghostly scars on mosaics, betraying Rome's imperfect forgetting. Historians still argue whether this was about vengeance or reshaping Rome's story. A puzzle that hums as your lamp casts a cozy glow on the shattered marble. You stand by a toppled bust, chisel in hand, your name fading under Rome's gaze. Geta, Caracalla's brother, faced this fate in 211 CE, his image scratched from every mosaic after his murder. You imagine the workers, chisels clinking, erasing a life in hours. Your lamp's glow catches the stone scars, a nod to the Vestals' quipped defiance, even in this silent void. Unlike the ash's quiet choke or the wheel's brutal art, damnatio memoriae is invisible, a punishment that kills memory. Rome's message is clear: betray us, and you'll vanish from time itself. Here's a jab. Rome's idea of moving on was a chisel and a grudge. This punishment was rare, maybe a dozen cases, like Domitian or Commodus, but each was a citywide purge. Sources like Suetonius detail Geta's erasure, his name struck from arches. The absence stings more than pain, your life undone by silence. Your lamp's light steadies, as if cheering the erased's faint echo, a spark for those lost to Rome's rewrite. The forum's stillness is heavy, a reminder that justice here is a vanishing act. You linger by the broken stones, the city's hum fading into dusk. Damnatio memoriae's power lies in its finality, where ash hid pain. This erases existence. Legal texts like the Senatus Consultum sanctioned it for fallen emperors. A fringe fact, some families hid erased busts, risking punishment to preserve a whisper of memory. Your lamp's glow dances, carrying the forgotten's quiet strength, a beacon against Rome's rules. The mechanics are stark but profound. You watch as your statues crumble, inscriptions vanish, your name a forbidden word. The crowd moves on, your story reassigned to others. Scholars debate if this was about control or collective forgetting, a question that lingers as you feel the chisel's weight. Your lamp, now a radiant ally, shines for those erased, its light a bridge to their vanished courage. The forum stones gleam, Rome's knack for turning punishment into art, carved into every absent face. You step back, the city's pulse softening into night. Damnatio memoriae feels like a silent cousin to the ash's hidden burn, both wielding fear to keep order. Your lamp, bold with each act, carries the condemned's grit, a nod to their lost voices. Here's a final laugh. If Rome had a history app, this would be Erase Profile. No undo. Its oddity, vanishing a life without a trace, lingers like a bedtime tale you can't unhear. As Rome's shadows fade, your lamp's glow softens, a gentle flicker in the quiet night. You've wandered through pits, sacks, crosses, and wheels, each a strange note in Rome's song of justice. The city sleeps now, its stones holding stories of those who faced its wrath, Vestals, traitors, heretics, all lit by your steadfast light. Their defiance, like that quip about charming Jupiter, whispers still, a spark that time can't dim. Let the forum's hum fade, the Colosseum's roars drift away, like dust on a breeze. Your lamp dims, its glow a warm hug, guiding you to rest. Can you recall the sack's animals or the wheel's grim art? Did the donkey's bite linger, or the ash's sting fade? Sleep now, cradled by Rome's tales, your lamp a quiet friend until dawn. Sweet dreams.